gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
A judge denies bond for the man charged with murdering his 9-year-old neighbor. Michael Goodman is accused of shooting and killing her in Portage Park over the weekend. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ben Bradley.
And I'm Lourdes Duarte. Prosecutors say the girl's father tackled the man moments after that shooting.
WGN's Kelly Davis is in the newsroom now with new information that came out in court today. Kelly?
Ben and Lourdes, despite being shot in the face during the weekend incident, 43-year-old Michael Goodman appeared in person this afternoon. No motive for the shooting was revealed during this hearing, but a judge denied Goodman bond.
Wow. So we've got a grown man who shot his 9-year-old neighbor. It's going crazy out there in Illinois. Governor's doing some wacko things, trying to make illegal aliens police officers. It's getting different. All right, they're bringing in a boatload of people and giving them more rights than the citizens, and it has an effect on the city, and I think everybody's kind of losing their mind right now.
Family and friends gather around a curbside memorial in Portage Park to remember a young girl who was taken too soon. 9-year-old Serabi Medina was shot and killed in front of her own home on Saturday night.
It just makes no sense at all.
Prosecutors say Medina's father was talking to friends inside a car as the 9-year-old was riding her scooter up and down the street. She stopped to get ice cream from a nearby ice cream truck, then returned.
A few minutes later, a shot rang out in the area. The victim's father immediately told the victim to take her scooter and go back to the apartment.
Prosecutors say that's when Michael Goodman walked out of his apartment building with a gun and crossed the street towards Medina.
The victim's father shouted to the defendant, asking what he was doing. The defendant ignored the victim's father and instead followed the victim towards the vestibule of her building.
The father ran towards his daughter as Goodman raised the gun and shot her in the head.
Damn, I mean, guys, when I tell you things are about to pop off at every single angle, like crime, the violence in the streets, financially, food, freedom. I mean, everything is about to pop off. And man, you got some lunatics out there, man, and it's getting insane.
The victim's father tackled the defendant in the vestibule, and they both fell to the ground. As they fell, the gun discharged, striking the defendant in the eye.
Prosecutors say the gun was legally owned by Goodman, who has a FOID card. He has been a computer programmer for the last 20 years and has no criminal history. It leaves family and friends with so many unanswered questions.
How dare you think that you can just take anyone's life? And a child? What did that child do to you or to anybody?
Goodman's next court date is scheduled for August 23rd. In the newsroom, I'm Kelly Davis. Back to you.
All right.
And now to new developments in the murder of a 9-year-old girl over the weekend. Today we learned what happened in the moments before the little girl was shot, enjoying one thing that many kids love, ice cream. Kate Chappell has what happened next.
The victim, her father, and the defendant were strangers.
New details emerge in court 3 days after 9-year-old Serabi Medina was shot in the head outside of her apartment home in Portage Park. 43-year-old Michael Goodman has been charged.
So here is the Glider Gremlin at hand. He actually shot himself in the face, or the gun went off rather, when he was tackled by the father. Unfortunately, the father wasn't able to get there in time. I mean, that must have been a insane moment for him. But like I said, guys, things are popping off right now, and you know, the police hands are tied. The government from the top down is doing shady things to make it worse. We've got obviously the Soros appointed DAs. He has no criminal record. He's just I guess I don't know. He just must have snapped. Didn't really know the people. You know, you can't really say anything about it, but he's a monster. Okay.
Charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors say he lived across the street from Serabi and her father. The pair had moved to the neighborhood after her mother was murdered in 2018.
Damn.
On Monday, family and friends.
So the mom was murdered in 2008. I mean, the guy is left with nothing. I mean, what's going to happen to him?
Held a balloon release to honor the little girl.
She was a beautiful person with a big, big heart.
According to details revealed in court, Serabi was riding her scooter on the sidewalk the night of the shooting.
The victim's father was talking with 3 friends who were all seated in a vehicle in front of their residence.
They gave her money to buy ice cream, and minutes later, the group heard a gunshot. The girl's father told her to go home. As she approached the door, he told police the group saw Goodman walk across the street toward her.
The victim's father shouted to the defendant, asking what he was doing. The defendant ignored the victim's father and instead followed the victim towards the vestibule of her building. While the victim's father ran to his daughter, he observed the defendant raise the firearm, pointed at the victim, and shoot the victim in the head.
Prosecutors say her father tackled Goodman in the vestibule when the gun went off again, and Goodman was hit in the face. On scene, police recovered a 9mm handgun and shell casing.
The 9mm firearm contained 1 jammed shell casing.
They also found a gun box, receipt with a matching serial number, and ammunition inside Goodman's apartment. Prosecutors say.
So he probably just caught that gun and said, hey, I'm going to delete the first person I see. Woo.
He has no criminal history and does have a valid FOID card.
Goodman's being held
Chico.
without bail. He'll be back in court August 23rd. At 26 in California, Kate Chappell, NBC5 News.
Other news we're following, we are learning more about an horrific crime in Portage Park.
Casey Cronus is live with what an eyewitness is sharing about the murder of a young girl. Casey.
Chico.
Corey and Dawn, 9-year-old Serabi Medina, known by loved ones as BB, was shot and killed as her father tried to stop the gunman. Witnesses say her murder was completely unprovoked. Today, the suspect sat before a judge. He was appointed a public defender and did not speak during the proceedings.
Damn, he got a public defender. I mean, it's over for him anyway. You got the father as a witness. I mean, it should be wrapped up, but we've known Cook County to drop the ball on situations like this. So, man, we just got to watch and see. I'm curious to see what the motive was.
Proceeding. 43-year-old Michael Goodman is being held without bail, charged with first-degree murder. Last night, loved ones and neighbors came together outside of Medina's Portage Park home to remember the child who would have started 4th grade this month. But on Saturday night, she had just gotten ice cream and was riding her scooter along the sidewalk when she was killed. Her father had been chatting briefly with 3 friends who were sitting in a vehicle when they heard a gunshot. Prosecutors now revealing that shot was allegedly fired by the suspect in his apartment across the street, where they found a bullet lodged into the wall. Witnesses say the following fateful moments happened in a flash. Prosecutors say the suspect emerged from his building with a gun and walked toward the little girl when her father screamed.
I mean, how the heck can you do that as a person? And then the father, man, to witness I mean, it's just a wild situation. It's crazy. These glider gremlins are on demon time.
As Medina's dad rushed the gunman, prosecutors say Goodman shot the child in the head. A witness, Renee Aquino, says the girl's father tackled the suspect. The gun went off again during a struggle, and Goodman was shot in the face. Now, Aquino is revealing another troubling detail.
Looked like some headphones on his head, and the gun was on the side of his head. He had both of his arms just stretched out on the side of his body, just walking normal, like tunnel vision. They had retrieved them and investigated that they were not headphones. They were earmuffs. They were used. They are used to, in a shooting range. When you shoot a gun at a shooting range, you got to put earmuffs on. That's what they were. She was a beautiful little girl. And him being a father to raise this little girl on his own and then to lose her, I feel like this world has ended. My world has ended. Like, you know, what are we going to do when this world is so crazy? And we need to love our children.
A gun was recovered at the scene, and in the suspect's apartment, detectives found a FOID card, a receipt for the gun, and additional ammunition. He has no criminal history, according to prosecutors. Reporting live from the Layton Criminal Courthouse, Casey Cronus, Fox 32, Chicago.
Yo, what's good, BGZM News 17 family? I'm at the corner of Jesse Jackson and Marcus Garvey, and I got some bad news for you. As you can see, I lost my job. I'm out here living in cardboard boxes outside of boarded up vacant homes. YouTube said I'm done getting money out here in these streets. They even took my funky ass suit. So anything right now would help. So go ahead and hit that Cash App, hit that PayPal, hit that GoFundMe. Hell, cop the merch. Or if you want to make the long-term commitment to the Jinquavius Jackson Fund, join the Patreon so that I can continue to put out top-notch content each and every day. Also, check out the Rumble, where there is absolutely no censorship. Link in the description box below.
Hey, yo, ain't that nigga Jinquavius? Yo, I recognize.
No, that's not me no more.
Hey, yo, run your pocket.
Y'all killing me with this shit.
Do the opposite of Antonio Brown and take
What
all your
more do you want from me?
Now, a developing story. The man charged with shooting and killing his 9-year-old neighbor in Portage Park faced a judge today.
The alleged gunman in court despite suffering a gunshot wound during a struggle with the victim's father. WGN's Kelly Davis live in our newsroom with details. Kelly.
Ray and Micah, no motive for the shooting was revealed during this hearing. 43-year-old Michael Goodman appeared in person this afternoon despite being shot in the face during the weekend incident. He stood silent in front of a judge as prosecutors detailed this horrific murder. Then he was denied bond. Family and friends gather around a curbside memorial in Portage Park to remember a young girl who was taken too soon. 9-year-old Serabi Medina was shot and killed in front of her own home on Saturday night.
What happened here was a travesty. It was an act of pure evil and nothing else.
Prosecutors say Medina's father was talking to friends inside a car as the 9-year-old was riding her scooter up and down the street. She stopped to get ice cream from a nearby ice cream truck, then returned.
A few minutes later, a shot rang out in the area. The victim's father immediately told the victim to take her scooter and go back to the apartment.
Prosecutors say that's when Michael Goodman walked out of his apartment building with a gun and crossed the street towards Medina.
The victim's father shouted to the defendant, asking...
You know, I have a theory about some of these shootings. Could these be people trying to prove a point? You know, because I've read a few stories like this where somebody goes, buys a gun, and then immediately deletes somebody. Like are you trying to prove a point that it's easy to purchase a firearm? Like, I'm trying to figure out what the motive is here. Could these be like super radicalized liberals in trying to make a point on, you know, gun laws? I don't know. That's just what I'm throwing out there.
What he was doing. The defendant ignored the victim's father and instead followed the victim towards the vestibule of her building.
The father ran towards his daughter as Goodman raised the gun and shot her in the head.
The victim's father tackled the defendant in the vestibule and they both fell to the ground. As they fell, the gun discharged, striking the defendant in the eye.
Prosecutors say the gun was legally owned by Goodman, who has a FOID card. He has been a computer programmer for the last 20 years and has no criminal history. It leaves family and friends with so many.
So I guess that learn the code bro thing didn't work.
Unanswered questions.
How dare you think that you can just take anyone's life? And a child? What did that child do to you or to anybody?
Goodman's next court date is scheduled for August 23rd. In the newsroom, I'm Kelly Davis, WGN News.
All right, thanks.
Well, we are learning some new details, not only about the attack, but also about the alleged gunman. We're learning that Michael Goodman has no criminal background, but does have a valid FOID card. What we're also learning is that it appears as such that he allegedly targeted this child before opening fire on him. What we don't know is still what sparked the attack. Prosecutors did not say why they think Michael Goodman intentionally shot and killed his 9-year-old neighbor, Serabi Medina, as a Cook County judge denied bail for the Chicago man accused in the slaying.
The victim's father shouted to the defendant, asking what he was doing. The defendant ignored the victim's father and instead followed the victim towards the vestibule of her building.
Dressed in a black t-shirt and green shorts, the 43-year-old computer programmer appeared in bond court this afternoon. The left side of his face still healing from a gunshot wound he suffered when the girl's father tackled him during the attack as the two...
And yeah, I'm surprised he didn't die from that. You know, unless he gets down with the Nazis in prison, I don't see him surviving long either.
Men fought for the weapon he used. Goodman now faces a first-degree murder charge, accused of killing the Portage Park girl.
I'm very angry, and I honestly don't even want to live here anymore.
The shooting happened just before 10 o'clock Saturday night in the...
And now you're thinking, I mean, when do you just call it and say, hey, man, I got to get out of this place? I think a lot of people, you know, y'all make a statement. Leave these Democrat cities. Now, don't come, you know, to our towns and voting the way that you were doing there, right? It's like, try that in a small town, right? But I mean, it's just absolutely insane.
3500 block of North Long Avenue on the city's northwest side, where the victim and her alleged killer both lived. Prosecutors say it was after the child bought ice cream for her and her dad at a nearby ice cream truck that a shot rang out. The victim's father told her to go back to their apartment. Just then, the group says they saw Goodman emerge from his apartment building, armed with a handgun, walking toward the girl.
While the victim's father ran to his daughter, he observed the defendant raise the firearm, pointed at the victim, and shoot the victim in the head.
Goodman was wounded when the girl's father tackled him and the gun fired, striking the defendant in the face. Serabi later died of her injuries at an area hospital. Her death comes after the family lost her mother to gun violence a few years ago. Meanwhile, a memorial in the girl's neighborhood continues to grow.
She was friendly. She always smiled. She was kind.
Now, what we're also learning is that when the court finished today, the public defender who is representing Goodman at this hour asked for protective custody as he heads now to the medical unit inside the Cook County Jail. The next court date is August 23rd.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Corey McFerrin.
And I'm Dawn Hasbrook tonight. The suspect accused of brutally killing a young girl while she was riding her scooter in Portage Park over the weekend has now been charged with first-degree murder.
With so many unanswered questions still, loved ones and teachers came together this evening to remember the child. Casey Cronus live for us in Portage Park. Casey?
Corey and Dawn, hearts are broken over the killing of Serabi Medina. Dozens of community members are still here paying their respects. And tonight, a question that may never be answered is on all of their minds, and that is why. Less than an hour ago, family members, including Serabi's dad, friends, and even strangers, gathered to release purple balloons in her memory. It's one of Serabi's favorite colors. The happy-go-lucky girl, as family describes her, went by BB. She was preparing to start school later this month and would have been in 4th grade.
Damn, and it's just like, how are people doing this type of stuff? You kind of just sit back and, you know, it feels like the country is on fire. Everywhere we go, we're seeing the same things.
But on Saturday night, she was gunned down in front of her father while playing outside. She'd been riding her scooter when her dad and other witnesses heard a gunshot. Witnesses tell us her dad told Serabi to go inside, but within seconds, an armed man walked across the street and shot Serabi in the head. That man has been identified as 43-year-old Michael Goodman, who lives across the street. Police yesterday were searching his apartment and removing evidence. Meanwhile, relatives share their favorite memories of the little girl and say she was an absolute joy.
It just makes no sense at all. Serabi was a beautiful, young, vibrant little girl. She was friendly. She always smiled.
I used to look at her and think, man, she lost her mom. You know, that hurts. But this little girl is full of life, laughing, and just having fun.
But he deserves everything that's coming to him. He deserves the book thrown at him. I mean, how dare you think that you can just take anyone's life? And a child?
Later this month, in Serabi's memory, loved ones will be holding a backpack drive. We'll have more details on our website. The suspect, who was shot in the face during a struggle with Serabi's father, was taken to the hospital on Saturday night in critical condition. His current condition has not been released. Neither has his mugshot. Reporting live in Portage Park, Casey Cronus, Fox 32, Chicago.
Now, new details and a first look at the man accused of shooting and killing a 9-year-old girl outside of her Portage Park home. Michael Goodman appeared in court today, and our Sharday Gray was there. She joins us live now with what we are learning about the accused killer. Sharday?
Marie, prosecutors say 43-year-old Michael Goodman does have a license to own a gun, but the motive behind the shooting is unclear. But back here at the scene, this memorial continues to grow as people stopped and spoke with 9-year-old Serabi Medina's father. Take a look at your screen. This is Goodman's mugshot. You can see stitches over his left eye. That's because after the girl was shot, her dad struggled with the suspect and the gun went off, hitting Goodman. The father wasn't ready to speak on camera right now, but he tells us Saturday night was his worst nightmare. He says Medina is his twin, and now he has to visit her at a morgue. Prosecutors say the girl's father told her to go back inside after a gunshot went off. A short time later, Goodman came outside walking toward Medina. According to court documents, the girl's father shouted to the defendant asking what he was doing. He ignored the victim's father and instead followed her to the building and shot her in the head. Prosecutors say Goodman has a valid FOID card that was found in his apartment along with a gun box and bullets. Since the shooting, many have come to show their support for the 9-year-old's family.
Don't shoot nobody. Put the guns down and think about it before you think about it before you pick up a gun.
I think he thought that one out, bro. I think he planned to shoot the first person he saw. You know, it's getting wild out there in Illinois. It's pretty much over. I don't know if there's any coming back.
Now, even though Goodman lived across the street, he doesn't know the Medina family. We do know prosecutors say Goodman has no criminal background. Reporting live in Portage Park, Sharday Gray, CBS 2 News.
Sharday, thank you.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away!